Hello and welcome to the new episode of Viego Live. Today I'm going to talk about what's new in Business Central 2021 Wave 1. Back in the day, we used to call our product Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2013, 2015, whatever. These days it's a very long name. It takes a minute to just say Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central 2021 Release Wave 1 or simply BC 180. So today, I'm not going to talk about everything what's new inside Business Central. I have decided to do a short series of videos where I'll address a couple of new things that are new in 2021. From development perspective, of course, I'm not going to talk about the app itself. And the first session, of course, I want to focus a little bit on the interfaces. And I'm just going to do another overview of interfaces functionality because interfaces have been through a small facelift in Business Central 2021 Release Wave 1. So without much ado, let's actually just start talking about interfaces. I hope everything is fine with the sound and all. If not, please just type in the chat. It seems that everything is fine and working correctly. So let's take a look at typical implementation of interfaces. So I have been preparing my demo and I have apparently done too much here. So let me just see. Yeah, I need to clean up this just a tiny little bit because I have in front of me, I have the final version of the code. As always, you can follow my code on my GitHub, so it is already public. So if you want to follow the demos that I'm going to present today, they are all available here. So github.com/viekob/new 2021 w1-interfaces. So this is the URL on which you can follow all the demos that I'm going to present in a few minutes. So let's start with a simple example. What I have here is a loyalty level enumerator. So you know that we use enumerators instead of options. That has been the best practice for a while now. I think it's already fourth release in which we can use enumerators or enums instead of option values. And what we have here is an loyalty level enumerator. And this enumerator has three values. So imagine that we have customers and we want to group them into loyalty levels like bronze customers, which is default, then silver for better customers, and gold for best customers. So what I have here is also customer table extension where I have added this loyalty level field. And also I have extended my customer card page. And I have, for now, let's just focus on this part. I have added this field to the card. So if I run this extension or this app, and when I sign in to Business Central, I can see that I have this nice new field inside the customer card. So it's loyalty level, bronze, silver, or gold. And based on some customer history or behavior, I can assign those loyalty levels. So please do not pay any attention at all at the business meaning of all of this. We are simply focusing on technical aspects of this. So how do we use this loyalty? Let's take a look at the enum again. So I have specified that this loyalty implements this iLoyalty level interface. And if I look at that interface, this is a simple interface which simply has one simple function called getTreatment, which returns text. And then I have said that default implementation for loyalty is bronze. And if I take a look at bronze code unit, it has this procedure getTreatment, and then it says be polite. This is kind of default to all customers. We need to be polite. And then we have the second level, which is silver, which implements silver. And this is be friendly, offer a discount. And then the last one is I can just hover over gold with the control key and this is one of new features in AL compiler. I'm not sure if this is actually 2021 wave 1, but if you press Control key and then hover over a variable or reference, it will give you a preview of that reference. So here we can see that we have another code unit which is for gold customers. And how do I use this interface implementation? Well, inside my page, I have my action, which is called check loyalty treatment. And when I click this action, I have this loyalty variable which references my loyalty level interface. And then I assign this from this enum. This is, of course, possible, as you remember. This is nothing new. And then, of course, I call this function and I get the text which I show in a message. So if I go back to my Business Central, this is my bronze customer. I can go to Actions, Check Loyalty Treatment, and see that I need to be polite with this customer. The next customer is going to be silver. I'm going to check loyalty treatment for them. Now I see Be Friendly, offer a discount, and then I'm going to try gold customer, and I'm going to click check loyalty treatment, and I get Be Extremely Friendly, offer a discount and a free gift. Cool. So far, nothing new. All of this is as you have already been familiar with, except that now I want to extend this. So what I have here is my loyalty extension app, and this app, yeah, I have wanted to show you from scratch, and apparently I have not prepared well, and I want to. Yeah, well, let's not do. Let's just take a look. So I have my loyalty extension app, which extends my loyalty. I want to have platinum level or diamond level. So what I have done is I have implemented a new platinum code unit platinum that implements loyalty level. Obviously, this is failing because I need to define dependency. This is what I wanted to show. Yeah, you know how that works already. So I have defined the dependency to my core app. This is the app that you have seen a minute ago. And thanks to how multi-root workspaces work in VS Code since 2019, release wave 1 or 2, I'm not sure, we can simply define a reference. We don't need to have a symbol. Actually, even though the symbol is here, if I remove that symbol, this will still compile. So what makes it compile is dependency declaration. Now this should go red, and if I add dependency, it should work fine. Okay. So what do I do in this dependency app? I'm going to hide my core app, and I'm going to focus on my dependency app. First, I have defined a platinum code unit where I say that this customer is our top customer, whatever, this message doesn't matter. And then I have defined a loyalty level extension where I have added value 10, which is platinum. So if I run this app now, actually I need to stop the previous one. If I run this app now, and then go to customers and then find the customer. So this is bronze, and this was silver, and this was gold. I want this one to be platinum. Apparently I have this value here. And if I click Actions, Check Loyalty Treatment, it tells me that this customer is our top customer, whatever. So it obviously runs this platinum code unit. So what is really new about this is that in the past, we had a problem with interfaces. So let's imagine somebody did this, in fact. So somebody went to extensions and then clicked extensions and then found this extension to my core interface, which defines platinum, and then uninstalled that. So I'm going to uninstall this. And then, of course, I'm going to sign out and sign in again. And then I'm going to try to access this customer. It was the fourth in a line. So here I see that loyalty level is actually blank. It's not, does not have a value. That's because this customer, even though I have uninstalled the app, the data that resides in my table extension that comes from my core app it still has this field, but this field contains an unknown value. So the value of 10 does not map to any of these. And what happens if I click action and then check loyalty treatment? And now I get an error message. It tells me that enum does not contain value 10. And of course, it does not contain value 10. And even though my enum defines, I need to check it defines the default implementation and says that if a value does not contain a specific implementation, like in this case, then use that one as default. So even though I have that, if I try to access that interface, I cannot, because a missing value of enum is not the same as default interface implementation of an existing enum or a known enum value. So in previous versions of Business Central, if you attempt to access an interface that is implemented by an unknown enum value, then you get a runtime error. So what Microsoft has decided is to fix that. So what they have said is that we can provide a new unknown value implementation. So before I do this unknown value implementation, I'm just going to do let me start from bronze, and then let me create a unknown code unit AL. And then start from this unknown, and then I will just put a value or a message, this enum value, this, let's not use enum, it's too technical. This value is unknown. Please check loyalty level on the customer card and fix it accordingly. Okay. And then I'm going to go to my loyalty level enum, and I'm going to say that I have unknown value implementation for my loyalty level, and I'm going to use value of unknown. Okay, so this compiler is, or actually the code formatter is somewhat confused. This has already happened to me, but yeah, I'm fixing the formatting now, and I'm going to run this app again. So I'm building this and running it. And let's take a look at what happens if I go to customers and I go to this fourth customer. So we still have no value here because it is an unknown value. But if I go to actions and then check loyalty treatment, I don't have a runtime error. I have actual nice execution of my unknown value interface. So once again, the difference between default value implementation and unknown value implementation is the following. Default value implementation applies to all of known enum values which exist either inside of this enum or any enum extensions, but which do not specify an explicit implementation for that interface. For example, bronze. Bronze does not specify an explicit implementation, whereas silver specifies an explicit implementation. And gold, of course, does. So that's what default implementation does. And if I take a look at my loyalty level extension, if I didn't do this here, then Platinum would use default. However, unknown value implementation applies to those situations where a field in a table or a value of an enum contains an unknown value, a value coming from typically another extension which has been uninstalled. And then instead of throwing a runtime error, we can specify if we happen to have an unknown value inside of a table, then use this specific implementation, which is unknown. Typically, you will not want the same implementation as default, because this is really an error. This is a situation which should not happen. And if you are using values coming from extensions which are no longer available, you should fix them. So this is the first addition to interfaces, or first addition to interfaces stack. Now let's take a look at, I'm now going to, Another addition to interfaces stack is the obsolation. So what we can do with interfaces is we can mark them as obsoleted. So inside of my interface, I can now set obsolete state and then say that the obsolete state is pending. So this tells all of consumers of this interface, all of code units that implement, all of objects that reference it, that this is going to be obsoleted. I can specify obsolete reason. Get treatment was too vague. We are moving the logic into new functions. So for example, let's say that this get treatment we're not going to use that anymore. It just gives text, which makes no sense. So what I want to do instead is I want to do a procedure called get discount %, which is decimal. And I want to have procedure get perks, which returns record. Yeah, this is something also new, and I'm going to talk about that. But instead of record, let's say that I just want to return text. So I want all of my implementations to actually replace the implementation of this get treatment with these two. So I'm just going to say obsolete and say, do not use get treatment. We are moving this to get discount % and get perks. So if I take a look at, for example, bronze implementation, it should tell me that, yeah, of course, first of all, I need to implement this interface fully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these two functions. And for now, just begin and end. And then if I take a look at this, I will see that this is marked for removal. And it tells me that get treatment was too vague, and we are moving this into new functions. So I'm not sure why get treatment doesn't show anything. Let me go back to my interface. So get treatment is obsolete. Yeah, it's not going to tell me that inside of my interface implementation, but inside my page implementation, it will tell me that first, this interface is going to be obsoleted, and this method is marked for removal. So I need to handle that inside of, well, my code. So perhaps instead of get treatment, I need to use any of these two new functions. So this is what obsolation does. And of course, my dependency will as well fail because, or actually give me a warning. It will tell me that this interface is also marked for removal. So this is very nice because if you are maintaining an extension that other partners, for example, are depending upon, then you can use this obsolation feature of the compiler to specify that something is going to be obsoleted in the future version and that you do not want your partners to use that anymore. Good. That's enough for this part. I want to show you one more thing, which is being able to use interfaces as return types. So let's actually take a look at that. I'm going to remove my extension. So I don't need these two anymore. So I'm going to yeah, is this uninstalled? Let me sign out and sign in again. Yeah, this is uninstalled, and I'm going to uninstall this one too. I will delete any extension data. This is just to have a clean environment before I start my next demo. So I'm going to hide this. So if you remember my last episode of Fun with Interfaces, or was it the second one? I'm not sure. What I have presented is several patterns. And one of those patterns with interfaces was a factory pattern. So here, just as a reminder, I have this precondition factory And before I actually show you the code, let me just refresh your memory a little bit and show you how it works. So I have this create new account feature, and then it will ask me what account type I want to create. And if I select vendor, it will ask me specific set of preconditions I have to meet before I can create that account. And if I click, for example, click new employee, then I have these. And if I click new customer, then I have these. So, and of course, all of these have different. So this one is just a check mark. This one is asks me to confirm like this, and this one will ask me for a text, and then I'm able to create that new account. So all of this functionality comes from interfaces and factories and enums, of course. So I'm going to focus on just small part of this, and here I'm going to take a look at this demo precondition factory, which has three functions. One is click precondition, one is confirm precondition, and one is question precondition. So if I take a look at references, I can see that, for example, my new customer uses question precondition. And how does it use it? It has a global variable called key account precondition, which is of type this interface, and it's going to use the value in this to check the answer to this specific question from this precondition questionnaire. However, when you look at this code, there is something very confusing to me, at least, and that's that when you look at this, you don't know what exactly is happening. So you call a function, you say factory.click precondition, but this really makes no sense, because click precondition, and then, yeah, from this line of code, it's absolutely not obvious that the purpose of this click precondition is to assign a value to my solvency precondition variable. And if I look at this factory method, what I see here is that it has this precondition, which is interface. It has it by reference, and this is fine. This was the only way that was possible before. But as I said, when looking at the code which consumes this, it is totally unobvious that you are actually assigning this value from there. So what Microsoft has done, and this was on a top list of a lot of developers for a long while, to allow us to return complex types from functions. And this applies to interfaces. So instead of using this by reference assignment, which is very confusing and very limiting in terms of what you can do with simplicity of code and invocation of those of methods, and also declaration of unnecessary variables, as you will see in a minute. What I can do instead is I can move this into a return value. So now it tells me that compiler does not support this. I need to set it up as version 6.0. So I will go into my app.json. I will change my runtime to 7.0. And when I'm back in here, now this is allowed. And of course, I'm just going to not do it once for just this. I'm going to do it like this for all three methods. And I'm going to remove it like this and then add it like this. So now all of my methods are returning this precondition instead. And if I go to my new customer code unit, of course, this doesn't compile anymore. But when I actually do it like this, and write my code like this, it's entirely obvious what is happening. So the purpose of this click precondition function is to return something, and this something is assigned to this. So this maybe looks like a very small change, or something totally uninteresting, like you could say, like, why is this so important that we can now return complex types? This is why, because you can then easily make your intent entirely obvious. So intent is here completely obvious. We see that we are retrieving three different values from this factory code unit, whereas in this situation, the intent is completely obscure. Anybody who comes to look at your code will not understand at once what is happening there. They will have to go into this function to see what it does. and how it actually works. Another beautiful thing with these interfaces and the fact that now, or not just interfaces, but complex types as return values, and I will talk more about that, is that you can, do it like this. You can method chain into that. So I can click and invoke this method, for example. So this is something that was not possible previously. So if I have a function which returns a complex type, I can easily just chain into it or dot into it, whatever you want to call it, and then immediately invoke its members. If you only need to invoke a single method like this, then you don't even need to declare an unnecessary variable. You can immediately just call it like this. So these are just a couple of things. This is what in fact we have got with this new version of Business Central Compiler. So that's it. I'm now going to close the session, and I'm going to answer any questions if there are any questions. There were no comments so far in the chat box. So if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. If not, I'm just going to wait for a minute or two, and then I'm going to close. So no questions. I'm just going to let's try to see if this would work any better. So no questions. I'm just going to. Yeah. Well, it seems that you have no direct questions about this functionality here. So let's just move and close the session. This is one of the small new additions to the compiler. I find it very useful. It allows us to better structure our code, especially in the, extension dependency scenarios. Oh, there is a question. Hi, I joined late, so no question. Okay. Yeah, look at the recording, and this applies to everybody. So if you have a question, you can always go to my blog. You can also ask questions in the comment sections of, so downstairs in here. If you're watching this offline later, then you can see, you can ask questions. I always answer them. Okay, so I have comments. Thank you also for commenting, Aaron Jan. Yeah. So to me, this is very important that we now have this new functionality around interfaces, that we are so much more flexible with them, and also we can better define what should happen in all of those, not really edge scenarios, but real life scenarios where we define interfaces and we use interfaces across dependency ecosystem. So this is especially useful for partners who are building some platform or horizontal apps that other partners are building on top of. Okay, let me just use this opportunity to invite you to a series of webinars that I'm going to do in the upcoming period. If you go to my blog vieko.com, in the sidebar in the upper right area, you can see what webinars are coming up. I wanted to have a public webinar next week, but a company has booked the entire slot, so I have closed it for public assignments, and I've asked attendees to join another session that's going to be in the beginning of May. I'm going to announce the dates. Then in mid-May, there is a very interesting new webinar, which is called CI/CD from AL Developers' Shoes, where I'm going to present a couple of very important patterns for continuous integration, something that is typically not even understood as a part of continuous integration, which in fact is a very central core part of CI/CD. And then in early June or mid-June, there's going to be a repeat session of my webinar, Branching Models and Strategies. So I have a lot of interest, so I've also decided to allow maximum 15 attendees. This is something that I've learned from previous webinars. So if you want to join any of them, I cordially invite you. People who attended were very happy, so I hope to see you in one of them. And I'm going to try to do these reviews of what's new in 2021 Wave 1 from AL perspective. There are a couple of more things I want to address. I want to focus on these return values, complex types as return values, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. It's not going to be a massively complex session. I'm just going to talk what is possible, what is not possible, and why. And then the last thing I'm not promising because this is not what I normally do. This is report extensions, something that is very interesting. People have been asking for that for a long time. And this is now new. We can now define report extensions. So that would be all for this time. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. And yes, have a nice weekend. And as I said, see you next time. Bye.